106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Hi, this is Jamie Shokum, host of the Movie Survival Guide, the only MSG you need. Tonight, we're doing general survival tips. Hi, welcome to the first episode, our pilot if you will. The concept behind the podcast is pretty basic. Essentially, well, look at the movie Scream. It went through the various rules of the horror movies, did a pretty good job of it, and actually had a lot of fun with that. That's sort of what we plan to do on this podcast, but we plan to take it to a much more interesting extreme. In essence, we're going to go crazy and go after every genre we can think of. I mean, I don't care if it's military. I don't care if it's rom-zom-com. Yeah, that's an actual genre. Romantic zombie comedy. What the heck? We're going to be looking at teenage sex comedies. We're going to be looking at, a lot of other zombie movies, a lot of other horror movies. It's just going to creep up. But we're also going to be looking at exploitation flicks. Yeah, remember those good old-fashioned prison movies that were full of teenage girls? Those are going to be covered at some point on this podcast. So just hang in there with us. Because of that, I'm going to introduce you to the basic format, even though we're probably not going to go with it tonight for pretty obvious reasons. The general way we'd be doing this is I'd be discussing a couple of movies that are applicable to the genre we're discussing. I'd go through them, tear them apart a little bit, have a little bit of fun with it, and basically point out where they have things in common. Then I'd present a top 10 list of general tips on how to survive in that particular genre. However, tonight's sort of a weird situation because, we're doing general survival tips that should apply to pretty much any movie. And so it just doesn't really fit to go through the movie part of it. But trust me, we'll get to it. We'll have a lot of fun with it, and it's going to get a very interesting trip. So I'm glad to have you along with us. With that in mind, let's go ahead and go straight to the top 10 list. Top 10 list of general tips to survive in any movie. 10. Be an important supporting character. Think this through for a second. If you're one of the lead characters, one of the leads is going to definitely die. Something bad's going to happen. They're going to be taken out of the movie hardcore somehow. It's just a matter of time. On the other hand, if you look at the extras, they're called red shirts for a reason. Let's get real here. How many movies have you seen them go through crowd of red shirt after crowd of red shirt after crowd of red shirt? I mean, seriously. It's sort of like we get rid of all the red shirts, we pick up a new crew, get rid of them, and go right on to the next crew of red shirts. And they keep doing this like, a smoking addict going through packs of cigarettes. It's sort of scary. This is why you want to be a supporting character. You want to be that guy that comes in, does something sort of interesting, important to the plot, that moves it along, and then you disappear back into the background. I don't care if it's doing the mandatory exposition, giving people advice on how to solve problems, giving them arms and armor, heck, just giving them money or food. Bottom line is, sometimes you're going to basically be there just to basically move the plot along, and that's fine. Because you want to get in there, rescue the characters, and then run for the shadows. The nice, safe shadows, where usually nothing bad happens. So when it comes down to it, don't be the lead. Don't be an extra. Be that really cool supporting character. Number 9. Be identifiable, but don't be too identifiable. We all basically have that really cool character we like because they're just a little bit different. They come in with a really strong accent, the really bizarre hairstyle. They're wearing a tropical shirt when everybody else is wearing a 3-piece suit. They're the cool characters. They have something that identifies them, some sort of quirk that basically says, hey, I'm here. I don't care if it's how they dress, how they act, or even that really bizarre accent. The bottom line is, that character has something that makes them identifiable. However, by the same token, that character is also keeping within a general range that just puts them on close to the outside of the group, but still keeps them in part of the group. That's sort of where you want to be. That's that gray area that you want to work in. You want to be really identifiable. You want to stand out from everybody else. But at the same time, you still want to be part of the crowd. This is more of a survival tactic than anything else, because if you stand out too much, you're going to have a bullseye on your back, straight up. The crowd is eventually going to figure out a way to get rid of you, or somebody else from outside the crowd who's trying to make a point. Hey, identifiable target, happens to be you, you know what happens to targets in movies, right? So, with that in mind, if you're trying to survive for a long time in a movie, be that character who's really, really cool, really identifiable, but not too much on the identifiable side, okay? Number 8, don't be that guy. Every movie has that one character that we all love to hate. You know, that smarmy guy who tries to negotiate with the terrorists in order to get the hostages free. Yeah, we know what happened to that guy. The guy who happens to be a little bit racist, misogynist, homophobic, again, for some strange reason, that guy is not going to have a long life. He's going to die or something really bad is going to happen to him before the end of the movie. The bottom line here is that when you're looking at character traits that are going to identify your character, try not to go with the ones that are way too bad. Yeah, I know there's going to be this inclination to do some sort of interesting character arc, but straight up, unless you're a lead character, you're not going to get enough time to actually try to pull it off. Odds are somebody's going to notice your negative character trait, and they're going to do something about it in a very permanent fashion. And on top of that, when they do it, they're going to get cheers. Possibly from people in the actual movie, but definitely from people watching it. So whatever you do, when it comes down to it, don't be that guy. They don't live long, and you want to live as long as possible. Number 7, don't be a token. Yeah, I know it's an uncomfortable subject, and it's one we probably shouldn't do, but nonetheless, if we're talking longevity in movies, it's going to have to be discussed at some point. Casting directors are funny people. They'll do this really funny thing where they're going to have, everybody's going to be pretty much the same type of character, but they're going to have somebody who sticks out just to show that the casting director is, quote unquote, woke. Yeah, this sucks. This is where you get that one black guy in a crowd of whites. You get the one woman character in a crowd of men. You see where this is going, right? You know, you've got that one gay character when everybody else is having straight affairs. You know, it gets a little boring and a little irritating. You do not want to be that token character. You want to do sort of the reverse of the idea I told a little bit earlier about being identifiable but not too identifiable. You want to switch that up. You want to be unidentifiable but still be a little bit identifiable. This means that you're going to be the geek. You're going to basically take on the bookish librarian type. If you're gay, you're going to try to act straight as much as possible with maybe just a comment here or there. The key here is that when it comes down to it, you do not want to be a token. If there's some way to escape from being the stereotypical character that the casting director and the writer have pegged you as, escape from it. Yeah, I know this is going to be difficult because let's get real. You've got way too many people doing the black character who happens to be a rapping gangster who sells drugs. Yeah, it's great whenever you're trying to get drugs from the same person, but it's annoying for that particular person. It's just straight up. If you get suckered into being the token, see if there's a way to escape from being that particular role. It's just, if you're just a token, nobody cares, and you're going to get shot or somehow removed from the movie as quickly as possible. Heck, there's going to be serial killers that will target you explicitly because you're so far out the norm of the crowd. Figure out a way to become part of that crowd as much as you possibly can. Also, when the movie's over, go over to the writer, track down the casting director, and just slap the heck out of them. They deserve it. Number 6, know how to cook. Yeah, this and the next couple are going to sound a little bit weird, but trust me, they're going somewhere. One of the weird things you'll notice in a lot of movies is every so often you'll have a character who cooks, and he cooks really, really well. We're not just talking the guy can put together a steak. We're talking this guy can put together the world's greatest steak with a salad, with a coleslaw, and it all fits well, and it's totally awesome. This is the guy that if he was to basically go on to one of the cooking shows, is going to have Ramsay going, dude, I bow before your excellence. You know, these are the guys that have fun cooking. And the really cool thing about knowing how to cook, really long life expectancy. This is going to come down in 2 ways. First off, you're going to find that a lot of other characters are going to come around and try to save you. It's just straight up. They really, really love your burgers. And if the only way they can keep your burgers coming is to make sure you get out of the situation alive, so bloody be it. You know what I mean? On the other hand, sometimes you're going to be the one stuck at camp trying to cook a decent chili. Yeah, this is one time that chili will save your life. What'll end up happening is, the camp is going to get overrun by bad guys trying to kill everybody. You have two separate advantages in this situation. First, because you're in the cooking area, you have a lot more places to hide. I mean, those freezers, nobody ever looks in them. Have you ever noticed this? Seriously. You can have Ion Special Forces Ops 27 years running now. I will find everybody. And you'll go right on by the freezer. That makes them arguably the best place in the area to be, is be in the kitchen. Because if the bad guys are coming, you go straight to the freezer. You're good to go. However, if for some reason you actually do end up getting caught, well, you'll find out miraculously that the people invading don't have a cook of their own. And this is actually causing some major morale issues. The advantage of this from your perspective is, all of a sudden, you'll be captured, you'll be forced to cook, but you'll be alive. More importantly, you can be rescued. So, hey, win-win, right? So yeah, knowing how to cook is a survival skill. And we're not just cook, but cook well. Number 5, know a musical instrument. Yeah, I know, this is another one of the sort of weird ones, but again, when you start looking at a lot of weird movies, and I'm talking non-musical movies, you all of a sudden notice that, well, the person who knows how to run a musical instrument, 9 times out of 10, is going to be surviving till the end of the movie. I don't care if it's a saxophone, a violin, a cello, one of those big pipe things you see in Australian movies, or even, get this, a kazoo. As long as it's some sort of actual musical instrument. It's just one of those things I don't understand a whole lot, but for some bizarre reason, knowing how to play a musical instrument and actually having a little bit of fun with it every so often can actually save your life. Yeah, you tend to see this in a lot of the animal movies, where you're basically being run down by a grizzly bear, and all of a sudden somebody pulls out the kazoo, starts playing with it, and the grizzly bear's like, dude, that's cool. I like that. And he actually started dancing to whatever you happen to be playing. So yeah, it's sort of a weird thing, especially if you happen to be dealing with some sort of a morale issue. All of a sudden you can pull out whatever instrument it is, start playing, and all of a sudden morale goes up. That alone gives you a reason to keep you alive. So yeah, I know it sounds weird, but just know a musical instrument. Number 4, be an expert with a particular weapon. You'll note that there's a lot of qualifiers in that segment. Basically, you have to be an expert, and it has to be with one and only one weapon. This is going to be sort of weird, but it sort of makes a lot of sense, because when it comes down to the leads, you have a lot of people who are, well, egotistical maniacs. They want to do that one thing that's going to get them all the applause, all the celebration coming their way. And this means they need that one really great moment to stand out in everybody's mind. If you happen to be a weapons expert in a wide range of weapons, well, all of a sudden you're going to be stepping on that person's toes. And worse than that, you'll probably be stepping on several people's toes. This means that every one of them will now be trying to figure out ways to off you. If they can make it seem like an accident, so much the better. But if they have to do it themselves, so be it. On the other hand, if you happen to be an expert with one particular weapon and one very particular way of using that weapon is even better, then it becomes something really cool that you can pull off, that everybody can clap you on the shoulders for doing, and then on top of that, once you do it, you fade off into the background. And by specific, I mean you can't just be a sniper. You have to be that sniper who can pull off a 2K shot on a person wearing a red hat and do it every time. It has to be ultra specific. At that point, like I said, somebody will actually get kudos for calling you into the action. They'll feel happy. You'll feel happy. Better yet, you can disappear into the nice, safe shadows. So whatever you do, if you're going to be in a military type movie or any kind of movie that involves some sort of weapons, martial arts, or whatever, make sure that you only know one weapon or one technique, and you know it as specifically as absolutely possible. And hey, you'll be good to go. 3. Be loyal to the lead. Yeah, I know this pretty much goes without saying, but I'm putting it in here because some idiots tend to forget about this. They tend to get so ambitious that they have absolutely no problem stabbing people in the back without realizing that if you get a reputation for being a backstabber, well, you'll generally tend to find a large bladed weapon in your own posterior at some point in time. If you happen to be the person who blabs all the secrets, all of a sudden, again, you're going to be finding people aren't going to be saving your neck as much as they possibly could. In fact, some of them might actually be trying to do you harm depending on what kind of secrets you released. The bottom line here is you want to at least pretend to be loyal to whoever you happen to be with. And the more loyal you are, well, the more rewards you'll get later on the road. I mean, sure, in some movies, you do tend to see loyalty rewarded by, well, large caliber fire. But the general rule is that the more loyal you are to the leads, the more that you can actually show off your value by basically just simply doing what you're told and doing it well and not betraying anybody. Well, you're going to find that everybody's going to start protecting you as well. That extra protection helps add to your longevity, and I'm really not seeing a bad thing about that. So, loyalty gets rewarded. Keep that in mind, and you should be fine. Number 2, don't have sex with the lead. Straight up, there is absolutely no way I cannot emphasize this more. One of the biggest mistakes that supporting characters and extras do is they sleep with the lead. It's just, yeah, you do that, you know your life is going to be valued in scenes. You're not going to be long for this world. One way or another, somebody's going to be shooting for you, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to hit. If they keep missing, they'll find other ways to get rid of you. I don't care if it's sending you off to the convent, or sending you into hazardous duty, or just simply doing something that causes your untimely death. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, there's 3 major motivations here. First off, people like getting laid just because it's something fun to do. It's fun. This is why Captain Kirk gets all the women. He tracks them down, he has fun with them, end of story. You never hear from that woman again, usually. Dr. Carol, kudos. But the problem is that as soon as you sleep with the lead in that particular situation, you go from being a fantasy lay to all of a sudden a potential problem. And, well, you know, there's the possibility, for example, you could have the lead's son. You could all of a sudden have no secrets about that person and they don't want to get them out. You know, the bottom line is that by sleeping with the lead, you put your life in danger in that situation. You also have the a little bit more less common situation of women that want to have a child, but they don't want to have, well, the father figure right there. So yeah, they'll get you the sperm donor, and then once they've get what they need out of the situation, you're no longer necessary. You're just like a bee drone. You don't matter anymore after that point, and if there's a way to get rid of you, yeah, it's going to happen. Of course, you also have the situation where you slept with somebody who somebody else wanted to sleep with, and that's going to cause a jealousy problem. Movies, jealousy problems, supporting characters, yeah, you pretty much know where this is going. Because there's only one way to solve a jealousy problem, and that's by getting rid of the person causing the jealousy. Nice knowing you, bub. So, when it comes down to it, keep it in your pants. If you need to have sex, do it with other supporting characters, do it with the extras, but do not, I repeat, do not have sex with the lead. And the number 1 tip to general survival tips and staying alive in the movies is always have an exit strategy. This is another thing that I cannot emphasize having enough. You do not want to get into a situation where you have absolutely no control and no way out of it. Once you have that, yeah, that's a tip off that you're going to be dead by the end of the scene. Whatever you do, never go into any situation without having a general idea of what's going on, where a couple of the exits are, and how to get out of there. you need to have some sort of exit strategy. And this applies just as much to a social situation as it does a tactical one. In fact, all social situations in movies should be viewed as tactical situations. If for no other reason, then that's how it usually ends up being. I mean, I don't care if it's a mafia movie or a teenage movie. And straight up, those teenage girls are scarier than most of those mafia members, and you know it. So, when it comes down to it, always know your exits. Always know what's going on. Always know as many of the players as possible. Know how to get out of that situation. The bottom line is just have some sort of exit strategy. I hope these tips will do you well good. If you'd like to support the show, please check us out at patreon.com/twosparrows, TWO. We have some really great stuff, plus we're running some specials specifically for members, for people who sign up as part of the Movie Survival Guide. Also, check us out on YouTube. I'll be actually setting up different playlists as we go along. That way, if you're trying to look for a particular genre and its subgenres, like if you want to check out the zombie stuff, plus how to survive particular zombie movies, yeah, we're going to eventually have all that stuff as we go on. And the cool thing is we can set this up on YouTube as actual playlists. So heck, please subscribe there. Thank you, have a good night, and keep surviving.